The Forgotten Threat. The celebration aboard the Galactic Council flagship Luminous Dawn was unlike anything seen in centuries. Crystal chandeliers reflected thousands of moving lights across the grand observation deck as diplomats, military officers, and dignitaries from over 200 species mingled with drinks in hand. The massive view screen showed the remnants of the Draveri Imperium's final battle fleet, now little more than expanding clouds of debris against the backdrop of a nameless red giant star. Admiral Thrain, Supreme Commander of the Allied Galactic Forces, raised his glass of Centaurian brandy. His scaled skin shimmered with blue bioluminescence, a sign of extreme pleasure among the Vectheri. Today marks the end of the bloodiest conflict our galaxy has known in 5 millennia, he announced, his deep voice carrying across the suddenly hushed chamber. The Draveri threat is eliminated. Their tyranny is broken. We have secured peace for 1,000 generations to come. Thunderous applause erupted from the crowd. Species that had once been mortal enemies now stood shoulder to shoulder, tentacle to claw, united in their victory. The Draveri had nearly conquered them all with ruthless efficiency, driven by religious fanaticism and technological superiority. It had taken the combined might of 17 major galactic powers and countless minor ones to finally break them. 3 decks below, Commander Ilara Voss wasn't celebrating. The human Arcturus hybrid sat hunched over her console in the sensor monitoring station, her silvery eyes reflecting the unusual readings before her. She brushed a strand of midnight blue hair from her face and frowned. Lieutenant Zix, run a diagnostic on the long-range array. I'm picking up something strange at the edge of the Oort cloud in Sector 87. The insectoid Exarchean chittered in acknowledgement, his multiple limbs moving across various interfaces with practiced efficiency. Diagnostic shows all systems nominal, Commander. Signal is authentic but unusual. Pattern matches nothing in our database. Ilara's frown deepened. Magnify and enhance. The holographic display zoomed in on a particular point of deep space. What had initially appeared as random interference now revealed itself as a distinct signature, a repeating pattern of energy fluctuations that seemed almost deliberate. It's a communication signal, she murmured, but using quantum entanglement methods we abandoned centuries ago. Should we alert the Admiral? Zix asked, mandibles clicking nervously. Ilara hesitated, interrupting the victory celebration with what might be nothing more than a space anomaly, could be career suicide. But her gut told her this was important. Run it through the historical archives first. Maybe there's a match somewhere. The ship's AI processed the request. Historical match found. It announced after several minutes. Signal pattern consistent with Terran military protocols, circa Solar Standard Year 2487. Ilara felt the blood drain from her face. That's impossible. Earth has been quarantined for over 3 centuries. The mention of Earth was enough to send a chill through the monitoring station. Though part human herself, Ilara knew little about her ancestral homeworld. Earth was rarely discussed in polite company, a subject of ancient galactic shame and fear. Commander, Zix's voice had dropped to a whisper. There's more. The signal. It's not coming from Earth. It's coming from multiple points throughout the galaxy, all converging. Ilara's fingers flew across her console, accessing restricted historical files that required her top-level clearance. What she found made her heart race. Contingency. Lazarus, she read aloud. In the event of existential threat to Earth or human interests, sleeper fleet protocols. Before she could finish, alarms blared throughout the ship. The celebration above came to an abrupt halt as the emergency lighting switched on. Unidentified vessels detected, came the panicked voice over the comm system. Multiple entry points. They're everywhere. Ilara rushed to the main bridge, arriving just as Admiral Thrain stormed in, his festive attire now replaced with a battle uniform. Report, he barked. The tactical officer, a Proxian with chrome-like skin, looked up with terror in his multiple eyes. Sir, we're tracking over 700 unknown vessels that have just appeared throughout Council space. They've somehow bypassed our early warning systems. Design and energy signatures matched no known configuration. On the main view screen, a massive ship appeared, unlike anything Ilara had ever seen. It was obsidian black, shaped like an elongated arrowhead, with numerous geometric protrusions that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. It dwarfed even the luminous Dawn, which was itself one of the largest vessels in the Allied fleet. "Open communications," ordered Thrain, straightening his uniform. After several tense moments, the view screen flickered and revealed the bridge of the unknown vessel. A human woman stood there, tall, stern, with short gray hair and eyes that seemed to hold the cold emptiness of space itself. She wore a simple black uniform with silver insignia that none recognized. "This is Admiral Helena Vega of the Earth Reclamation Force vessel Retribution," she announced without preamble. "The quarantine is over. Earth has returned." The bridge fell silent. Ilara felt a strange mixture of dread and pride at seeing another human, a full human, for the first time in her life. Thrain recovered first. "This is Admiral Thrain of the Allied Galactic Forces. Earth was confined to its solar system by unanimous decision of the Galactic Council for the safety of all civilizations. Your presence here violates." "Spare me the diplomatic posturing, Admiral," interrupted Vega, her voice like steel. "The decision to quarantine Earth was based on lies and fear. We've spent 3 centuries preparing for this day. While you've been fighting your petty wars, we've been evolving." As if to emphasize her point, several smaller Earth vessels appeared on the tactical display, easily neutralizing the defensive perimeter around luminous Dawn without firing a single destructive shot. Systems simply went offline as invisible energy fields enveloped them. "What do you want?" demanded Thrain, his bioluminescence now flashing angry red patterns across his scales. Admiral Vega's expression remained unchanged. "Justice, truth, and a reckoning that's been 300 years in the making." Meanwhile, Ilara had pulled up the classified files on Earth's quarantine. What she found contradicted everything she'd been taught about history. According to these files, Earth hadn't been quarantined because humans were dangerous warmongers as commonly believed. The truth was far more complex and damning for the Council. "Admiral," she said quietly to Thrain, "you need to see this." She transferred the files to his personal console. As he skimmed them, his bioluminescence paled to a sickly yellow. The files revealed that humanity had been on the verge of developing technology that would have fundamentally altered the balance of power in the galaxy. Not weapons, but a form of FTL communication and travel that would have made the Council's control of interstellar gates obsolete. The quarantine had been a political and economic decision, disguised as a security measure. "They know," Ilara whispered. Somehow, they found out the truth. All across Council space, the mysterious Earth vessels were positioning themselves near major military installations, communication hubs, and seat of government planets. Yet none had fired a single offensive shot. Admiral Vega spoke again. "We've uploaded the true historical records to every public information network in Council space. Your citizens are learning the truth even as we speak. Earth was betrayed not because we were dangerous, but because we threatened your monopoly on interstellar travel." On a secondary screen, Ilara could see riots beginning on several Council worlds as the information spread. 3 centuries of propaganda were unraveling in minutes. "You'll destroy the peace we've built," Thrain argued desperately. "The Council system maintains order across thousands of worlds." "A peace built on lies is no peace at all," Vega countered. "We're not here to conquer or destroy. We're here to correct a historical injustice and take our rightful place among the stars." As if to demonstrate their power and restraint, the Earth vessels simultaneously disabled the weapon systems of every major military installation throughout Council space without causing a single casualty. "That's impossible," whispered the tactical officer. "They'd need precise coordinates for every defense system." "They've been watching us," Ilara realized. "For centuries, gathering intelligence, studying our technology, our weaknesses." Admiral Vega nodded. We've had observers integrated throughout Council space since the day the quarantine was imposed. Your security was impressive, but necessity breeds innovation. Now, Admiral Thrain, shall we discuss new terms for humanity's place in the galaxy? Or would you prefer a demonstration of what 300 years of isolation and focused technological development looks like when applied to offensive capabilities? The threat hung in the air, but everyone on the bridge of the luminous dawn understood that if the Earth fleet had wanted to attack, they would already be dead. This was, in its way, an act of remarkable restraint. Thrain looked at Ilara, then back at the human admiral on the screen. "We will discuss terms," he conceded, his voice heavy with the weight of history's judgment. As the two admirals began their negotiation, Ilara stared at the massive Earth vessel. She felt a strange pull toward it, toward these humans who had refused to accept their imprisonment and had somehow transformed it into unprecedented advancement. For the first time in her life, she felt pride in her human heritage. The galaxy was about to change forever. The celebration of one victory had become the prelude to a far more significant revolution. Reckoning of stars. The diplomatic chamber aboard the Retribution defied expectations. Instead of the sterile, utilitarian design one might expect from a warship, it featured walls of what appeared to be natural wood, comfortable seating, and subtle Earth-inspired art. The room felt almost warm despite the tensions it contained. Admiral Thrain shifted uncomfortably in his seat, designed to accommodate his Vectheri physiology. Across from him sat Admiral Vega, flanked by her senior officers. Commander Ilara Voss had been permitted to join the delegation as an observer, her partial human heritage making her an object of curiosity to the Earth officers. "Let me be direct," Vega began, placing a small device on the table that projected a holographic display of the galaxy. "For 3 centuries, the Council has controlled all major transit points, communication networks, and trade routes. This monopoly has allowed you to dictate terms to less powerful species and maintain an artificial hierarchy." Thrain's scales flickered defensively. The system created stability. Before the Council, interspecies conflicts were constant and devastating. A convenient narrative countered a tall, dark-skinned human man who had been introduced as Dr. Marcus Chen, Earth's chief historian. "Our records show that the Council was formed by the 5 most technologically advanced species, who then systematically restricted the development of others under the guise of preventing dangerous technologies." He manipulated the hologram to highlight various star systems. These are the worlds whose development was artificially stunted when they began approaching technological parity with Council founders. Earth was simply the most dramatic example. Ilara watched the Earth delegation with fascination. Their composure, their precision, their absolute confidence. It was unlike anything she'd observed in Council representatives. These humans didn't posture or bluff. They spoke with the quiet assurance of those who held all the cards. "What exactly do you want?" Thrain finally asked, his patience wearing thin. Admiral Vega leaned forward. "The complete dismantling of the Council's monopoly on interstellar transit and communication, equal access to all species, a Truth and Reconciliation Commission for past injustices, and full reparations to Earth for 3 centuries of forced isolation." "Impossible," Thrain exclaimed. "The economic disruption alone would cause chaos throughout the galaxy." "We anticipated your reluctance," Vega said calmly. She nodded to another officer who activated a secondary hologram showing technical specifications for an entirely new form of FTL drive. "This is what we developed during our quarantine. We call it the Einstein-Rosen manifold drive. It requires no gates, no fixed points, no infrastructure. Any ship equipped with it can traverse the galaxy without Council-controlled pathways." The implications were staggering. The Council's power rested primarily on its control of the vast network of artificial wormholes that made interstellar travel possible. Without that leverage, their authority would crumble overnight. "You're bluffing," Thrain said weakly, though his bioluminescence betrayed his fear. "Such technology is theoretically impossible." How do you think our fleet appeared simultaneously throughout Council space? Vega asked with the hint of a smile. We've already begun distributing the technical specifications to non-Council worlds. Within a year, the monopoly will be broken regardless of your decision today. Outside the diplomatic chamber, events were moving rapidly. Across Council space, the revelation of Earth's true history had sparked protests, and in some cases, open rebellion against local authorities. Species that had been systematically marginalized saw in humanity a potential ally against the entrenched power structure. Back on the luminous dawn, Captain Merrill of the Arcturian Confederacy, one of the newer council members, was reviewing the information transmitted by Earth forces. The evidence appears conclusive, he told his officers grimly. The council founders deliberately quarantined Earth, not because humans were dangerous, but because their technological innovations threatened the established order. What do we do, Captain? Asked his executive officer. Merrill's expression was resolute. We stand with truth. The Arcturian Confederacy will recognize Earth's legitimate grievances and support their demands for justice. One by one, similar scenes played out across the galaxy as the carefully maintained narrative of Council benevolence unraveled in the face of incontrovertible evidence. Meanwhile, aboard the Retribution, Ilara had been granted permission to tour the vessel. Her guide was Lieutenant Commander James Okonkwo, a tall human with keen eyes and an easy smile that belied his position as the ship's tactical officer. How did Earth manage all this? Ilara asked as they walked through corridors bustling with activity. The technological advancement, the coordinated fleet, the intelligence gathering. It seems impossible for an isolated world. Okonkwo's expression grew serious. Necessity and unity. When Earth was quarantined, our ancestors faced a choice. Accept imprisonment or find a way to break free. We chose the latter, but realized it would take generations. So we unified as never before, dedicating our entire civilization to a single purpose. They entered what appeared to be an engineering lab where dozens of specialists worked on complex equipment that Ilara couldn't begin to comprehend. The Council thought isolation would weaken us, continued Okonkwo. Instead, it forced us to become self-sufficient and innovative. Without access to Council technology, we had to develop our own paths, explore theoretical possibilities others had abandoned as impractical. But the resources of a single solar system were limited, yes, he acknowledged. But we made use of every asteroid, every moon, every scrap of matter available. And when that wasn't enough, we developed technologies to harvest energy and materials in ways the Council never imagined. Our necessity became our strength. As they continued the tour, Ilara saw not just military might but cultural resilience. There were hydroponics gardens maintaining Earth species, educational facilities where children were taught, art installations celebrating human creativity. This wasn't just a warship. It was a representation of an entire civilization that had refused to be forgotten. Back in the diplomatic chamber, negotiations had reached a critical point. Several council representatives had joined remotely, many already calling for concessions to Earth's demands. You must understand our position, said Councillor Xan of the Proxian Dominion. While we acknowledge the injustice done to Earth, an immediate dismantling of the transit system would cause economic collapse on thousands of worlds. Admiral Vega remained unmoved. We've prepared a 5-year transition plan that would gradually introduce our drive technology while maintaining essential supply lines. Your economic concerns are addressed in Section 12 of our proposal. The thoroughness of Earth's preparation was stunning. They had anticipated every objection, every practical concern, every attempt at delay. They had spent centuries not just developing technology, but creating a comprehensive strategy for their return to the galactic stage. Thrain finally spoke. Even if we accept these terms, what guarantee do we have that Earth won't seek further retribution? Your fleet still surrounds our key worlds. For the first time, Vega's composure cracked slightly, revealing a flash of genuine emotion. We're not conquerors, Admiral. Despite what the Council has taught about humanity for centuries, we don't seek dominion or vengeance. We want justice, not endless conflict. She stood and approached a viewport that showed the vastness of space beyond. Earth remembers what it means to be isolated, to be vulnerable. We have no desire to inflict that fate on others. Our ships will withdraw as soon as the agreement is ratified and implementation begins. And if we refuse? Asked another council representative. The question hung in the air for a long moment before Dr. Chen answered. Then we'll proceed without you. We'll offer our technology directly to non-council worlds. We'll establish our own trade networks, our own alliances. The monopoly will still end, but instead of a managed transition, you'll face rapid, chaotic collapse. It wasn't a threat so much as a statement of inevitable consequence. After hours of further negotiation, a framework agreement was reached. The Council would acknowledge the historical injustice against Earth, begin the process of integrating Earth's FTL technology throughout the galaxy, and establish a commission to address other cases of technological suppression. As the meeting concluded, Ilara found herself standing beside Admiral Vega in a quiet corner of the chamber. "What happens now?" she asked the human leader. Vega's stern features softened slightly. "Now the real work begins. Building a more equitable galaxy will be harder than confronting the old order. But for the first time in centuries, there's a chance for genuine progress." She studied Ilara with interest. "You're part human. There must be many like you throughout Council space, descendants of those who escaped the quarantine." Ilara nodded. "We've lived with a complicated legacy, taught to be ashamed of our human heritage, while sensing there was more to the story. Perhaps you'll help bridge the gap," suggested Vega. "We'll need interpreters between Earth and the wider galaxy, people who understand both worlds." The idea resonated with Ilara, offering purpose where before there had been only conflict and confusion about her identity. As the Earth fleet began repositioning, maintaining presence but no longer in offensive formation, news spread throughout the galaxy. The quarantine of Earth was over. Humanity had returned to the stars, not as conquerors but as liberators, breaking chains that many hadn't even realized they wore. On countless worlds, people looked to the skies with new eyes, wondering what other changes this human revolution might bring. Fear mingled with hope as the carefully maintained order of centuries began its transformation into something new and uncertain. Aboard the Retribution, Admiral Vega stood alone on the observation deck, watching the stars. 300 years of single-minded purpose had led to this moment. The reckoning had come not with fire and destruction as many had feared, but with truth and the promise of a new beginning. Earth had been forgotten by the galaxy, dismissed as a cautionary tale. Now it had returned to write a new chapter in galactic history, not as the villain of Council propaganda, but as the catalyst for a long-overdue awakening. The stars themselves seemed to burn brighter with possibility.